Hi everyone, I'm Marie and we are coming to you live from Living Felt because it's Happy Woolly Wednesday! Oh, happy Wednesday wherever you are, and thank you all so much for chiming in all over the globe. The fairies have been running around madly getting so many things prepared for you because today we are going to needle felt these cute little beachy gnomes. We're going to look at making sandy beards and pointy hats, giving our little gnomes a little deck to land on, bluebeards as well, and getting our hats in just really fun, cute shapes. So we hope to have some fun needle felting with y'all today. And everything right now is happening over in the live chat, so say hi and where you're from. We're going to say hi to a few folks. Jane Hall just across the border in Louisiana, Tammy Daniels in South Carolina, JJ's in Wisconsin, Linda in Tennessee, Maureen up in Canada. Thanks for being here, always chiming in. Marla is in New Hampshire. Git in Denmark, I think is the first time I've seen you here on the live show. Susan Cunningham in Iowa, and she's been here a few times, likes to do landscapes. Kim Van Wardenberg, I think she's in the Netherlands. And thanks y'all all for being here. So say hi and where you're from. You're welcome to share anything in the chat, tips, ideas, questions. We're here to answer them. We're working on a simple project today, but there's always something to learn, even in the little things. So when you participate in live chat, you get entered to win prizes. And hey, if you're watching the live, the replay post-show, comment down below because you get a chance to win prizes too. So for last week's show, we did our Hidden Lake landscape. So much fun. We've had such fun seeing what you all have made. So we're going to give away 2 prizes right now to Kelly Radatic, I hope I say that right, and April Smith back. Y'all can choose either the Hidden Lake kit or the Fantasy Mushrooms kit for your prize. So congratulations, thank you so much, and everyone remember to participate. Up next are the lovely fairies. They have a few things to show you for you to consider for today's project or just your summer felting in general. So please help us welcome the lovely fairy Alyssa.
Yay! Yay! I'm so excited to share with you guys our new Beachy Gnome Kit. This kit comes with everything you'll need to complete the cute little guy. And for a limited time, we have a beachcomber treasure bag to help beachify your gnome a little bit. You can get this kit in the link in the description or on the Needle Felting Kits tab of our website. Up next is Fairy Angela.
Yay! Yo, yo, ho, 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 yo! This next gnome just came in off the high seas and I beat your lovin'. This is Gingerbeard. I'm sorry, not Ginger, Bluebeard. He looks like the Gingerbeard, but he has this beautiful blue beard. He's this little guy right here. And he does come in a kit as well, complete except with needles and foam. You will need to get separately. And up next is the wonderful Fairy Anne.
Yay! Oh my gosh, y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Me and Fairy Trish here wanted to introduce you to some new assortment packs we have. So we have 3 new wool assortment packs in the Maori batting. And we've got this one right here is the rainbow assortment. Trish is holding the hot tones assortment, perfect for summer flowers. And then if you need to cool off a little bit, here we have the Cool Tones Maori goodie bag. And so all of these goodie bags are going to have 10 colors, a ½ ounce per color. They are available on our website under the Maori section. Thank y'all so much. Next up, Fairy Marie.
All right, Marie. Hey, just see a big round of hearts for the fairies. Look, everyone here, it takes all of us to make everything happen, from the show to the kits to the wool packs to the names of things to the sheer comedy that goes on. And we appreciate the fairies so much, and we appreciate y'all too for being here and helping keep us inspired so we can keep sharing fun projects with you. But no show is complete without our fairy in the field. A little laughs from Fairy Kayla.
Hey everybody, happy Woolly Wednesday. I just wanted to pop in really quick and share some funniness with you. So I did have a question for you. What does a guy with 2 right feet wear to the beach?
What does a guy with 2 right feet wear to the beach?
Flop flops. Oh gosh, thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, too funny. Can we see some hearts for Fairy Kayla? Always keeping it real with the super corny jokes. Even though she is now remote, still doing lots of good work for all of us here. And thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope you're ready for just a little fun time, a little play time on the beach to make our little needle felted gnomes. We've enjoyed reading your comments already. Connie says, I love the color combinations and the hat accessories, but she hopes there's no sunburnt noses. You know, I wish that I had added that. I wish that we had piped in some sunburned noses. That's actually a good idea to bring those in. So here's our little guys. As the gal showed you, we have two different kits that you can make. This one is the what we call Beachy Gnome, and he comes with blue clothing, sandy beards, and then a little part of it is a little wood slice so that you can make him a little beach landing. We'll look at that today. I will show you what's in that little Beachy Bling Pack that Alyssa mentioned, and we'll also look at how we make the hats with this little posable swirl and how to make this blue beard, and that's what comes in that kit. So we welcome your questions, your ideas, your thoughts as we're working together today. And for those of you who've already made gnomes with us, well, you kind of know where we start. We have a very simple approach, and we've made gnomes together before. So today we're just going to add a couple different things to keep it interesting and keep it fun as you work on your little gnomes. So chime in. Jordan's in here with me today, and she's going to be feeding us your questions as we work. Cool? All right, so today I'm working on my WOW felt pad. We're working with our CW1 core wool, and we like to start our gnomies with a little central spine. So I'm going to be using a chenille stem here. Depending on how tall you want to make your gnome is how you drive the size of your chenille stem. I'm going to be starting fairly short. We're going to make kind of a smallish gnome today. And what you want to do is just use as much of your chenille stem as you need. So I'm going to make a small portion here, and thank you. Okay, so I'm going to make a small portion here, and am I on? I'm on camera? I can't see. Okay. Let's go ahead and you might take about 4 fingers to make this smaller gnome. We want a little bit of our chenille stem sticking out of the bottom so that we can use it for control. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off and leave a little bit off to the side, and you can use that for your hat. You're going to get a few chenille stems in the kit if you get a kit from us, so you'll have a couple to work with if you want to make 2 gnomes. I always like to start my little bodies with this sort of popsicle stick, kind of from the days of old. And the key to getting your gnome nice and firm and controlling the shape is controlling the shape of the core wool that you're working with. So I'm going to work with a piece that is about 18 inches long. I'm going to work with a piece that's about 18 inches long here. And we're going to go ahead. The first thing I want you to do is tear yourself a nice narrow strip. If you're having a challenge getting your pieces nice and firm, one of the first things you need to do is learn to control the wool as it's going on to your substructure, whatever that is. And the next thing is to choose the right needle. In this case, I'm going to be working with our 38 Star Spiral, which is a great medium but aggressive needle. To start our gnomes, we make this loop. We're going to pull the wool through the loop to get it started, and then I'm just going to twist this together. Now we have a little spine for our gnome, and the chenille stems are holding onto it for us. Fold this over, and then we start to twist. Notice that at first I'm twisting, and every time I twist, I'm pinching and holding and pinching and holding because I don't want a lot of air in this piece. I want this wool as close as possible to the chenille stem, because the closer the wool is together, then the more impact or the more effective my felting needle is when I poke it together. It doesn't have to go through a bunch of air, it's just binding wool to wool. Remember, that's always what we're doing when we're poking, is we're entangling fibers. The closer they are together, the easier it is for the needle to do its job. So now that I've gone down, really what I want to do is I'm going to build a cone. So it's going to be bigger at this end and more narrow at that end. So as we go, you can add like a couple of wraps here. That's going to be the base, and then taper it back up. This very top part here is going to be just the top of my gnome head, not the top of my hat. But we have done gnomes where that's just the top of the hat as well. In this case, our hats are going to be add-ons. So I just continue to snake back and forth, always staying tight. And if it's easier, you can switch the direction, turning with my dominant hand. And then we're going to start building up that base layer and then taper this back off. Never let go of your tension until you get that wool secured so that it's going to stay where you want it. And try and keep this from going too far down the chenille stem. Each time you run out of wool, pause and needle felt it. I'm going to needle felt right into the base here where I have what will be the bottom, because we're going to want that to be flat over time. We'll end up cutting this off. So needle felt right into the base, and then we're going to needle felt all up and down the length of this piece, rolling it around, and just get everything evenly laying down and evenly attached. This is kind of the boring part, always the under gnome, but it's a really good, if you make it nice and firm, then it makes all the work you need to do on the top much, much easier.
Janelle asks, what does the spine help with? Is it just make it sturdier to sit up?
Janelle is a great question. So why do we use the chenille stem in the middle? The reason is because when we needle felt, really we only want to go to the middle. We don't want to push our needle past the middle, or else you're always pushing it through, to the other side. The chenille stem gives you a nice, firm, supportive core, so that your wool can start to bind to itself. If we just roll the wool onto itself, it stays loose. And what happens is, as people needle felt, they tend to needle felt through the wool into the foam, into the foam, into the foam. And they're pushing all the way through the piece, when really we want a piece that's dense enough that we can squish it without misshaping it. So that chenille stem gives you a center core, like structure to build off of. And what's nice is when you leave this little part sticking out, is it also gives you something to hold on to while you're working. So notice my angle. I'm always going at an angle. There's no reason to hit that chenille stem in the middle. There's no reason to bend. If you bend your needle, if you hit it, you're likely to bow and break your needle. There's no reason to do that. We only want a needle felt to the middle. So once you get that fairly firm, and we will keep compacting this, that's when you want to add more wool. And do yourself a favor and stay narrow on these under layers, meaning work with less wool at a time so that you can really build up the density. When one part's going to be fatter than the other, I always start in that area putting the wool on. So attach your first piece right here, get it anchored, and then we're going to wrap. Now, I don't flip the wool around the piece. I use this hand to hold tension, and I am going to go around this several times so that I start to build that up, but I also want it to be nice and even. So gently work yourself back up towards the top, and you're going to do as many passes of this as is needed to kind of get your gnome to the base shape that you want. So if you're trying to make two gnomes out of your kit, if they're going to be the same size, then go ahead and divide your core wool initially. The little Bluebeard kit will pretty much make the one. You would have enough for more underneath probably, and the Beachy Gnome, you could get two out of it also if you alternate the colors of the top. Okay, so needle felt this piece just like we did the other, taking your time to get it all nice and firm, and roll it as you go, and you'll just keep building up the shape as you work. But notice that you don't need to keep, at some point you're going to stop going all the way back to the top so that the base just gets bigger and bigger. And if you keep doing that, this is where we're going to get to. This is about the size of my little guys, like a little tiny Christmas tree. I think we even made little Christmas trees like this one. So I know some of you want to know the details, and I have a ruler, brought one for you. This little guy is about, get to the one. Okay, so he's about 3 inches. He's about 3 inches from here to here, and then he's about 1.25 inches, maybe a smidge more around the bottom. So once you get to this nice shape, then it's a great time to add your color, whatever that's going to be. Today I'm going to work with this nice blue. I think this is bay blue. It's so pretty. It's such a great watery blue. And when you get your batting for your wool color, you really only need it to be thick enough to cover the white underneath. And I want to answer some questions here in just a second when we start tacking this down, and I'll pause in a second. So this is what I call piecing. It's nice to have the wool wrap all the way around and cover the piece. So you just need to get as much wool for a gentle overlap, because once you push all the air out, then you'll see that there's a little more of an overlap. So all you do is just grab onto the 2 pieces and pull it apart. We're working with a batting today, not roving. But hey, look, if your piece is a little funky, if what you happen to receive maybe is more of like a little patch, maybe, let's say what you have in your stash is something a little shorter. If you're working with batting, you could just as well put this piece on, needle felt it down, add another piece and needle felt it down. So if you have something like batting, it's okay to just patch things in. In this case, I was able to tear mine off to be a complete coverage, and I like to use my fine or my medium to fine needles for this portion here. So you might use your 40 triangle or your 42 triangle and tack this part down first. I always leave the bottom kind of like this here, bring my wool right to that edge, and then I'll fill in on the bottom. But I like to start needle felting on one end and then one side here, and then work my way around. You're pushing that excess wool, the air out of that excess wool as you needle felt, smoothing it on like shelf paper.
Laura asks, how do you keep the bottom so flat?
I keep the bottom flat by constantly doing, just in the building of the initial structure, just like I showed you from our very first roll, I'm going to needle felt right into the bottom. And keep in mind that not only makes the bottom flat, it also helps firm up the piece by pushing the wool this way. So needle felting into the bottom, needle felting at this angle, flipping it around, and needle felting at this angle. These actions, besides just going up and down, will help firm up your piece in all directions. And that's how you're going to get a really nice dense piece. So you're going to needle felt this top color on, take your time, and you might also like to try your 42 triangle cluster. And notice that you really are just tacking this wool down so that you get it nice and smooth. The key here really is to go from one edge of the wool that you pulled off to the other and smooth it down as you go so that it gets on nice and smooth. Not having a bunch, not jumping around so that you get a bunch of bubbles and folds and stuff. Okay. And we're going to jump ahead here too. Let's see.
We have a few people wanting to know the size of the felt pad that you're working on.
Oh, this felt pad is the 17 by 17 wow pad, and these are on the way. So we have these in production. They're coming if you're waiting for a bigger wow pad. They're on the way. Okay, needle felt your outer color coat, whatever it is, and if you have extra, that's okay. Wherever you have extra at the top, just hold it in place with your hands to reach the top and then pluck it off. All of this is going to be under his hat, but you still want it to be nice and firm and tidy. Needle felt it all down so it's nice and smooth and flush. You don't want it to be loose. Lynn says that she notices that her stuff is softening up over time, and I don't experience that. She said things that she's needle felted firmly soften up over time, and I don't experience that. So I would say, what are you needle felting? What fiber are you using for the core? What needle are you needle felting with? But I don't have this issue of things softening up over time. I find that a little curious. I'm not sure. Okay, needle felt your piece until it gets all nice and firm. And then I'm gonna jump ahead. So here's one that I've worked on for a little while. I've needle felted it. The bottom's still naked, and I still have my little popsicle stick sticking out here. So when I take this off, what I like to do is grab hold of it, get my wire cutters, and I'm going to push the best I can. This one's a little short, but I'm gonna pull on that and cut it so that I get it as close as possible. Now you may not get it all off, but it's ideal if you get it flush, and then you could just take the tip of your pliers or whatever and just push it in. And that way it'll be just a little more convex, anyway, innie versus outie. You want an innie versus an outie so that he will stand up just like that for you and be level. Okay, now for the very bottom, all you need is one of those, here's a great example, these little scrappy pieces that you had left, that's perfect. So just plunk that right on the bottom. You just want it to gently go over the edge, put a couple of those on, and then tack those down. So this is the same whether you make a big gnome or a little gnome, and you just avoid hitting that center core if you can. And I let all this rough stuff just spill right over the edge, and then I'll just fold it onto the top, or vice versa. The vice versa means you could cover the bottom and then make that a little more shallow and then fold the top over. Both work, as long as you just leave it nice and loose and then blend it up when you get to the top. And again, I'm using my 42 triangle cluster, which is nothing more than a very fancy rubber band attaching 3 to 4 42 triangles. I forever thank Jennifer Field for that idea. She came here and taught many years ago now. Now it's been many years since she was here, but that tip, I have been using it pretty much ever since. Okay, any other questions yet? I know we're not very complicated yet.
Just a clarification, we're using the Maori wool, right?
Yep, this is all Maori I'm working with today. This is what we're putting in the kit. Great colors to choose from. Lots of fun. It's a nice coarse fiber. Needle felts really well. Okay, look, here's our little base gnome, and then we just have to ask ourselves what else do you want on him? Sometimes I like to give them arms, and sometimes I don't. So like this little guy doesn't have any. This little guy doesn't have any arms. He just has his little beard and a hat. This little guy, I didn't give any arms. He just has a beard and a hat. And then this big guy, I gave him some arms. So I just want to show you how to make the arms. It's pretty quick and easy. And then I kind of tuck them up under the hat. So we'll make that as well. I'll park our little beachy thing over here. So we have stuff happening. We'll let those guys be there. Okay, so let's look at making the arms. And just for fun, I chose to make the arms a slightly different color. So this is where your other chenille stems come into play. And for your gnome, you can decide how long you want these arms. Generally what I do is I plan for a little bend in the top so that I bend the chenille stem so that no wool sticks through. And then I think, oh, well, his hand's gonna kind of come around to the front of his body. Maybe he's gonna be holding something. Maybe yours is holding a fish or a fishing pole or a bucket, I don't know. A beer, who knows. So I like the hand folded over also. And you don't need all this bulk, but you can keep it if you want. So I just like to have a little loop here at this end. And just for kicks, I will cut this off. When I do the hand, this little hand, the first thing I want to do is do the hand bit. So this wool here, this is also the Maori. You just need a tiny, tiny, tiny pinch, a tiny little strip. And again, you can work in layers. So if you get something straggly like this, don't use it like that. Just pull it back and get it into a strip of something that you have more control of. That's probably the number one tip, is just to control your fiber the best you can so that it's working for you. And then open your little hooky here. I know that's a little hard to see against the gray, but open your little hook here. Put your wool through again, just like we did, and go ahead and twist that arm off so that it's secure. And then we're just going to go around the hand. Now notice here, because this is going to be sticking out at the end, so you fold over like once or twice, maybe 3 times. Let the wool stick off the end there, then fold it over. So you get that little cotton swab tip, and then wrap this wool back around. You want a little bit of a mitt there, and then I'll just trail off the rest that will go like under the sleeve. And dry felting with your hands, the point of rolling this just like this. Just like this. And then this is where I use my finest needle. Like this is my 42 triangle. I just have it in the little holder. It's totally optional. And this is where I'm just going to needle felt this down. Take your time with these because the hands get touched and you don't want the wool coming off. So you do need to go all around the whole hand, the ends, all the edges. And ideally you don't want to poke all the way through the other side or it's going to get fuzzy. So a delicate stroke just to the middle, to the middle, to the middle. Gnomes are so small. I mean, like I said, sometimes they don't even have hands and sometimes you don't bother with fingers on something this tiny. So a little mitt is really all we need, the essence of hand. But take your time on this and needle felt it more than I'm showing you. And then you put the sleeve on top. That's kind of the key, is you do them in that order. So for the sleeves, I'm using this pretty little Tide pool. Again, with the tiny little strips, layers are better. Now this wool is more wiry than the MC one. Some of y'all are noticing that, so it's not always easy to get the same kinds of folds and things that you did in the MC one, but that's okay. Just, you know, all wool is different. Just work with it the best you can, and it just might mean you change your methods just a little bit. So I'm going to start right here at the end of the hand, and of course tack it down just like we've done everything else to get it just anchored.
Kasha says, these look so cool. I'll have to make one in a swimsuit.
That's fun. Yeah, I like to see the sort of men's stripy suits. Okay, again, the key here is not to let the wool get twisted, and notice how narrow this strip is. It's narrow and it's thin, so it's not bulky, it's not lumpy, and my hand is controlling it the entire time. Don't worry that that looks a little rough, because you can always come back and add more. And I just switch the direction and go all the way up the arm. And it's okay to cover this top portion too. We just kind of anchor those arms underneath the hat. I usually don't let the arms get too thick, but I will go back and add more wool here just right around the wrist, so that I can give them just a little bit of a sleeve. You know, you can make bell sleeves just by keep building on, and we've done that on a few of our gnomes. But again, remember, keep that needle, the angle really shallow so you don't poke all the way through the other side. And you're going to go this direction, but also go this direction. So don't just go one way, and get everything laying down so that it's nice and well attached. And you can build right back up on the end of that wrist, even just a little bit, so that if you add just a little more wool right here on the wrist, then you can go right back into it and give yourself just like a little shelf and make it look a little bit separated from the hand if you just give it a little height. And that's just from adding one more little layer right on there. So we have some arms ready for this little guy, and we don't have to put him on just yet. Let's look at giving him a hat. For the hat, we're going to start our hats just like we did the body. And that is, we're going to wrap wool around the chenille stem exactly the same way. Just notice that we're going to go to the top much less. So you're going to do basically the same as the body, but you can make it a little bit shorter. Leave this end fluffy. So the difference is I'm not needle felting these very edges here. I want these to stay loose. but I am going into the middle a bit here, right along the chenille stem, because I want this hat to be very, very firm. Notice how firm it is. Like I can squish this thing and it's not flattening. It's very firm. It's not loosey-goosey. We taught a free class to some beginners the other day, and here's one from somebody who bailed out. we taught some gentlemen at a nonprofit, and it was fun. They had a lot of fun. They made gnomes with us in like 100 degrees heat. We sat outside. Anyway, this is one guy. He didn't make it. And but this is loose, and it's a great example of what we see sometimes in the beginning when people are just starting, is they don't keep needle felting. It's loose, it's flimsy, it's not going to hold its shape. This is really this piece is really nice and firm. So please do, keep poking, keep needle felting until you get something that's really nice and firm. All right, so you get this basic shape. Somebody's going to ask me the size, and I won't have answered it. For mine, this hat is like 2 3/4 right now, almost as tall as the body. But again, this part is all nice and loose. So this is one way to approach what we're about to do. While it's in this state, I am going to cut off this stem. And you might approach it a different way, but I'm going to cut off the stem the same way we did before. I'm going to get rid of that stem. I'm going to get it out of my way under there. And again, this part is all loose and fluffy. And then I'm going to put this on my gnome. Okay? I'm going to start to attach it right now just like it is. So get this going up so you have a little bit of an indent. You want it not to bang right into that. So get that little wire that you feel in there. Get it kind of bent so this is a little more concave. And then we're going to attach this to this gnome. I'm going to give him a lighter colored brim like this in a second. So here's what we can do. Just start getting these two things attached, and it doesn't even really matter what needle you use because almost all of this is going to be hidden underneath what will become the brim. So I'm using my 38 star spiral. You can use a 38 star, 38 spiral, whatever is like a nice aggressive needle for this attachment. Now, you could have built this just all the way up as well. You could have built this all the way up, and you could build this hat out more completely off the gnome, but this is going to allow you to hide. Doing this attachment now is going to allow you to hide. So you could make your entire gnome taller and just build on this brim like I'm about to show you. Both work.
Did you use core wool for the hat?
I did not.
Okay.
I actually did not, because this part was so skinny. I didn't use any core wool in the hat. You can. It's just when it's this skinny, I usually don't because there's a chance of poking it through and it showing. Yeah, good question. I didn't use core wool. All wool. Okay. So now we have sort of what will be his hat, and I'm going to be attaching a brim. This is the start of the brim, so let me show you how we get there. You're going to take your fiber, whatever color you want for the brim, and it doesn't even need to be all that long. You want it to be like about 3 fingers wide if possible, and it's okay if you have to patch ends together to get it to be a little bit long. I did on mine that I'm about to show you. I had to patch the ends together. So you want this to be kind of a uniform thickness. It doesn't even need to be all that thick, but what we want is that this brim is going to wrap around our gnome with space. Like it's going to be somewhat loose on the bottom, so much that you feel like it's baggy up here. That's to be expected. So you want enough to feel like you can kind of go around, and you can probably add to it if you need to. So this piece right here, we'll see how far this one goes around, is about 6 inches long, roughly. And what we're going to do is fold it in half or just shy of half so that this part is loose. I'm folding this right to here. And then we're going to basically needle felt this so that we get a real nice fold right here. I'm using my fine needles on the wow pad. Notice that each time I push the needle in, I'm pushing, I'm not doing this. If it feels like, I don't want this to be flat, flat, flat. I want it to have a little bit of air in it so that I can push the wool into itself. So I'm not needle felting this portion. I'm going to peel it up before I go too far. I'm going to needle felt this side. What I want to do is start building a little bit of density into what is going to be his brim right here. Getting these fibers to lay down, getting them to be a little bit closer to each other. And then I'll also go back in with either your 40 or your 42 triangle, and we're going to, once it's, let me get it attached again, I lift it off. You're also going to go like right into it here. This takes a little bit of time, but it's kind of worth it. You can do some of that on the gnome as well, but I do find that it helps if you build up the density before you put it on your gnome. So you're going to peel it off and go back and go to the other side. Always this case, I'm always using fine needles, 40 or 42 triangle. And again, this part is staying loose. This part is staying loose, and this part is getting more density and getting more firm. So keep working on that until you build up this little ridge. And here's an example of one that I've worked on for a little while. And really, I just use my 42 triangle. That's my favorite. And I actually like stuff like this. It's sort of the nerdy part. Just making this strip is kind of therapeutic. It's slow, but it's also kind of therapeutic. Now, I like to sometimes put the brim on before I put the nose, because I like the nose to kind of be peeking out, you know, from underneath that brim, and I like the brim to kind of come down and not be too high. And here's a littler guy. He's kind of the same way. So when we put this brim on, we want to leave room for where you're going to want that nose. And I also don't want this too tight, because as soon as you put the nose on, then it starts to pull on that. So if you want, you can put your nose on right now, or we can do the two things in tandem. For the moment, I'm just going to get this pieced on here so you can get an idea of what it's going to be like. If you're not sure and you're not really comfortable, you can just bring like how much to take off or where you want it. Bring yourself a little pin the back on so that it kind of stays in place, or you could lightly tack it. Maybe put your thumb underneath there, or however big you think the nose is going to be, and then bring this piece back around. All this can get needle felted down to some degree in a minute anyway. So you can pin the two together and see how much excess you're going to have here on the top. And that's kind of how you can start to piece it and plan for where that nose is going to be. And you're welcome to put the nose on right now. So why don't we just start. What I'm going to do is do this, and then I'm going to pull all of the rest of this down. It tends to be what I do is I want to pull the rest of the hat down, and then where the nose is going to be, I want to push it up. So I'm going to pin it down low in the back, and then the nose is going to be right here, and then we'll push that up. So I'm going to just tack it in place just a little bit right now, and let this stuff up here, I'm not tacking that down just yet. Now I have a little space for my nose, so I'm going to tuck him under there first. I'm going to take a pinch of whatever fiber you're using for your skin tone, and you want it to be depends on how big the nose is going to be, but this is just like a finger's length long. I always start with a little strip. We're going to roll a tube, tuck in the ends, roll it over, tuck in the ends, roll it over. And now we have this nose thingy right here. So I stick that right on my little gnome. And you don't need all of this stuff, so you can pull that off. Holding your nose, and I'm really pinching that nose in place. And if you have your pin in the back, be careful. Okay, and then you're just going to needle felt right into the sides, just like that. Now take your time going around that nose, and you're going to, I attached him with my 38 star spiral right there, and then you can use a slightly less aggressive needle all around the nose to shape it, but we needle felt around the bottoms and around the sides. And it's up to you whether you give them nostrils. Most of the time I don't on these little guys, but sometimes I do. So you're just needle felting all around, and then you're going to tuck the rest of this nose part like right underneath what's going to be here for the little brim, just like that. And you can needle felt it down if you want. It's all going to get needle felted down with the hat. And I do shape the nose. I mean, I do needle felt it so that it's nice and firm and not loose. So you're going to have to take a minute to do that. And if you use your finest felting needle, like your 42 triangle, the yellow one for us, then it will firm up a little more slowly, but with less puncture marks. It'll be a little more gradual. So get that going on there. And then we're going to just blend all the rest of this hat. So you can decide how far you want this little ombre blend to go up. I'm just going to peel off a little bit of the layer as I go around. I decided I don't want it quite so tall, so you can just peel that off with batting. And then we're just going to, I usually start by attaching this, getting this little join to happen right back here. And you just, again, I'm using the 42 triangle, and you want to smooth it over. Don't go against that part. For me, this is a very slow part, needle felting something like the hat. I just take my time. I want it to all be nice and firm and look really pretty. So, and I want it to lay right on that nose. What do we have, Jordan? What are people saying?
I was laughing at this. Tammy says she loves doing noses. The bigger, the better. We have a few people in chat discussing how to potentially waterproof a gnome so it could be okay outside.
Oh, yeah, well,
Some people have...
it will look much different.
Yeah.
You know, he'll look much different because if anytime you apply some kind of chemical to the outside, then it's going to completely change it. We did an Odie coat, a video on how to firm up your needle felt and Odie coats, like make some things waterproof, but you'd have to really, you know, really coat it. Because the wool will absorb moisture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so all of this looks rough right here where this is joined, but just remember to push your needle this way, not this way, so that you don't create a line. And we'll make a little blend layer right here. So again, I like this to kind of hug the nose. So needle felt it kind of to the nose as much as you want before working up that part of the hat.
Suzanne is asking, how long does it take from start to finish one of these little
I have
gnome
no
guys?
idea. I don't. I mean, I usually don't. I usually needle felt after being at the shop all day. So I needle felt in little like 1 or 2 hour increments. But you know, if I were having a Saturday party and inviting people over, I would say let's have 2 to 3 hours to make our gnomes, so we can take our time, have fun, not rush, you know, and just finish them all the way. Okay, so I'm going to take my little pin out of the back, and you will want to just keep firming up your hat all the way around and getting it all laying down. This one is still very, very loose, but I'd like to show you how to do this little blend layer here. So you might like how that looks, but it's a little bit rough. And what you can do is just take a 50-50 blend of the coat underneath. You won't need very much, and the this new color as well, and just blend those two together to cover that little layer. So you just get one in between, and notice that this is just a little short blob. It's not even all that big of a deal. And then we'll just cover up what we just made. We'll just cover up that little join. And when you have batting, you can do little patches like this, and it will actually look very graceful. We'll just start it right here, and that'll be a nice little taper. And of course, you'll do this all the way around. It'll be taper. That's probably not the word I wanted. It's just like a little bridge in between the two colors. And anywhere you want to blend a little bit more, you could just add another little tiny bit. Like if you wanted to go one strip lighter right there, I don't think you necessarily need it. I think it kind of works, especially if you end up putting something like the cheesecloth and the shell over top or something like that. Okay.
Janine says, no matter how often I watch the same techniques, I always seem to learn something new.
Aw.
That's just the best thing.
I think gnomes are good little teachers. It's like every time you make one, you know, you come up with a different idea or something changes. It's like you just get to practice the fundamentals and then realize new little things as you do them. So you will do that all the way around, and you'll keep needle felting this so he's like nice and flush, firm, well felted all the way. And it does take time. For me, it takes time. Now, I like to put the arms underneath here, so before I go too far, and I just tuck the arms right up underneath the hat, but I do kind of decide where do I want them, where are they going to be. So before I get that all done, I'm going to get these arms on there. And you can put a top layer of wool if you need to. I didn't felt these arms all the way yet. I always save a little bit of feltability in there so that I can attach them to the fiber that's down below. And I only attach it for me right here at the shoulders. It's really up to you. If you want your gnome to hold on to heavy things, the entire understructure needs to be more firm. And you could see one of our other little miniature doll videos for having the arms fully integrated if you want them to really be, you know, on there permanent. I mean, not permanent, but like to more sturdy, holding on to things and such. So I don't think my little guy's going to be holding anything just now, but I want to get a couple of his adornments on here for you. And so again, I'm not needle felting into the wire. I'm just going on the sides of the wire, the sides of the wire, the sides of the wire. And I only needle felt the shoulders. So now you can finish getting his hat all in place and needle felt the entire hat so it's nice laying down, and continue your blending all the way around. And if this hat's not thick enough, you can make your brim a little bit thicker. Like this guy's brim's a little bit thicker, but it's still really laying on his nose. And this little guy, the only difference is the type of wool, but I kind of like I really laid it on top of his nose here, and that just comes from just continuing to needle felt this down right into the top of his nose. It's kind of fun when the hat's really firm and anchored on his little mug there. So decide how wide you want the base of the hat as well. Like this guy's, the base of his hat's a little bit bigger. Kind of fun. All right, so now let's make the beard. The sandy beard is what we have on this little guy. This is what comes in the kit, is some merino top and some viscose in 2 different colors. So the amount you use is up to you. If you use merino top in the beard, that's optional. I'm using just a ghost little wisp of a layer, and all it's going to do is break up these little viscose bits some. So the viscose is very shiny fiber. It has such a great sheen, and then I like a little pinch of this darker brown. I think this one's mushroom. Just to give it a little bit of a sandy look. And then I'm going to just blend all of these together just like this. So using the merino wool is up to you. Using the viscose is up to you. You could use curly beards. That's, you know, very traditional, but I like these shiny beards. I like straight beards. I think they're super fun. And your beard can be as thick or as thin as you want. So just keep that all straight while you're blending, and if something gets awry, don't worry about it, just put it right back on top. And just keep blending it however you want. I mean, your beard can be, this guy's a little bit darker, this guy's a little bit lighter, so whatever you like in your beard, all of it works. The length of your beard is also up to you, but whenever I attach a beard, I always go about it pretty much the same way. I'm going to take this beard and I'm going to fold the fiber, and I'll probably start right here at the base of the nose. And it's okay if your beard's too long because you can trim it. And I'm going to needle felt right into the base of these fibers. If you're having a difficult time with your needle grabbing onto it, try a little bit finer of a needle. If that doesn't seem to work for you, try a little bit more aggressive of a needle. I usually don't put wool underneath there because it adds a lot of bulk and I don't want it to be visible. But that's up to you. So now we have the center of the beard. You know, you could build pigtails or something the same way. And we have some videos where we've made hair for little dolls and such. So if you're looking for hairstyles and things or how to do braids and such, you might watch those. Then I'm going to take the second one up here along the side. I always bring them all the way up right to the sides of the nose.
Tammy would like to know if she can use silk instead of viscose.
Yeah, sure, like Tussa silk. I've used Tussa silk as well. Viscose. Yeah, whatever. Those all work. So look how cute he looks already. We'll fill in the middle on these guys. I need to make another little blend here. But let's go. This one's a little thin, but I'll put him in anyway. Okay.
And what size needle were you using to poke
Right
in the
now
beard?
I'm using a 40 triangle. A 40 triangle for this one. And then what I do is once I get these in, then I go up and build a couple of more layers on top of the beard. So you can shape beards once they're on, and you can needle felt, you know, once it's folded, get that back underneath. This just becomes kind of the under beard, if you will. I like it all the way up under the hat. And then I will fill in like these little front parts and make it a little more even by adding some right on top. So let's just take a little more fiber. Let's take a little more fiber here just to show you, and you can put right here on these little gaps, put them right on top. You can add back in anywhere you want to add, just a little bit more. Okay. And I think it's fun if it's streaky and not totally homogeneous. I think it looks cool. All right, so right here in this little bare spot right here, just do the very same thing. Needle felting in the fold is going to be really helpful for you. And you can trim it, you know, if you want your beard only to be as long as your gnome, or if you want to build it up and shape it, you definitely can. And you can also then, you know, start to train it. And I like to give it some little gaps and stuff, you know, when it's on him, and you can comb it down as well. So fill in your beard as much as you want. And if you want to trim it, did I bring my scissors? If you want to trim it, then go after it sort of this way, you know, don't go straight across, just snip into it at an angle from each side. It depends on what he's going to be sitting on. Like you might want him to sit flush on the table, or you might want his beard to, you know, be sticking off of something. However you want to do that. Okay. Any questions before we move on, Jordan?
We had one about the arms. So your arms kind of are in place, but what would you recommend for making them posable or moving?
Well, I mean, you can move these arms.
Oh,
you know,
they can.
Yeah, I only attach him at the shoulder, so he can be like, hi, whatever.
Perfect.
But if you want him to hold something heavy, you know, you just need a firmer understructure. That's all. But yeah, that totally works. Now this is really rough, y'all, so don't use this as a guide. If you look at the firmness or the firmness and the fuzziness, you want to keep needle felting until your piece is really firm so that you could rub it and the fibers are not getting messed up. That means that it can be handled, you can show it to people, they can pick it up, and you're not worried about it getting destroyed. It should be this well needle felted. And with this little hat, once you're all happy with it, well then you can pose him and give him some fun little swirls and toppers as well. So because we put that wire all the way up, so you could have put it only in the body, or you can put it, you know, just in the hat like that. So to finish our little guy, just a couple of quick things on him. In the kit, he's going to come with some cheesecloth. So I like to just kind of wrap it, and it's just a little pinch, and you don't really need that much. So you can wrap just around his hat a little bit. This makes him look oceany right away, right? You feel very oceany. And then what I do is take a little bit of the base fiber for whatever's the hat, and I only attach it in a couple of places. So maybe you don't want this much overlap, maybe you don't want that much cheesecloth. And then in just a couple of spots, I'm going to put a tiny patch of fiber and just tack it down. I don't even tack it down everywhere, just a couple of little places. And you don't even really need all that much, that much. So I don't even glue the cheesecloth on. I'm just going to needle felt it down in a few places, just like that. The cheesecloth itself, you probably just want to separate, but you can also just poke it right into your hat. And then this little kit, the Beachy Gnome Kit, comes with some shells. And to attach the shell, you might want to just put it where you had a join. You might want to have something stick off the top. So we're just using hot glue to get ours attached. And I'm going to wish later that I finished my hat before I did this. But I'll put them on there anyway. So just use a little hot glue and get him on there. Fun. This bigger guy, I use the Beachy Bling Pack. What did Alyssa call it? She had a cute name for it, or had a cute name. So the Beachy Bling Pack is an optional add-on only to the Beachy Beard Gnome. And what comes in that add-on is a collection of some pretty little shells that have all been hand-selected, some paper, hand-rolled paper beads, some blue glass. You also get this collection of yarn and a little piece of driftwood. So that's if you get the add-on on the Beachy Gnome Kit. But the Beachy Gnome Kit does come with the supplies to make this little platform here. So you're gonna get a wood slice, and all I do is take some fiber to start making this little mound. I'm just gonna demonstrate that real quick since we're about running out of time. Is everyone okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're going to take a pinch of one color blue, a pinch of another color blue, and it can be rough putting these two together. It doesn't need to be all that smooth, meaning the join, I don't even worry about what that join looks like. And then what I do is I'll start to flatten this down. Oh, I meant to use my punch tool. So use a little multi-needle tool of some sort. Start needle felting just the middle down. Then I'm going to bring my little wood slice out so I can see where I am. And you might just kind of trace around it so you know what shape to make your little piece. And then start folding these edges back in so that they're going to fit the shape of your wood slice. You'll decide one side is the top and one side is the bottom as you get going. And after you go over this side a little bit, get it all down, get it needle felted flat. I'm not using coarse needles here because I don't want to permanently attach this to my pad base, but I am using my base to get it nice and flat. Before I go too far, I'll peel it off, I'll flip it over, I'll needle felt this side, go over the whole thing, peel it off, needle felt this side, peel off, needle felt this side, so that you start to get what is like this little disc. And then on top of that, that's when you use some of the other colors that came in the kit. I just like to make it look a little beachy. So you might use some of your core wool here along where the two waters meet, just to make it look a little bit white or like you have a little bit of breakwater. And then some of the nose color in here, that'll help us just make a little bit of sand. I'm gonna go like this actually. I'm gonna break it up a little bit. And I'm going to make this is like my wet sand. You're gonna get a second color in there that is like a lighter color sand, just a tiny pinch of it. I don't have that same color that you had, so I'm gonna put this one in here. And you can kind of just pile it on and have fun with it being a little imperfect. You're also going to get some greens, like a sagey green and an olive color green. So we'll we're going to kind of just visualize where all of these are going to go to create our little beachy mound, and then just kind of needle felt them flat and build up the density as you make it. Doesn't have to be straight. You don't really want straight lines, so that's my water, my wet sand, my lighter colored sand, and then I'm just adding in some little beach dunes. So needle felt this all nice and flat and firm and give it dimension if you want to. But that's like the quick way to kind of build up a little beach area. And you're going to get some of this fun sagey green in there.
A lot of people are commenting on the Starfish hat. They really like the Starfish. Lots you can do with the gnomes, for sure.
Yeah. And making a starfish is just a little bit of patience to kind of draw that on there, just making one little spike at a time. Well, once you get your little beach area all how you want it and make it nice and flat, then I just bring out that glue gun and attach it right here to the base. So I glued mine all the way around, and you can go around and just needle felt right in the sides. And notice how this one has a little bit of dimension. Needle felt right in the sides. See how mine's not completely flat. But give your gnome a little bit of base. So it's up to you whether you just want to sit your gnomes right on there. I'll put the big guy on there. Sit them on there, or you can glue them on there to give them a little more of a permanent attachment. Totally up to you. Totally. Now the only difference here between these guys, meaning the beard, is that we used different colors in the beard, and so you're going to do the same kind of blending with light blue and the dark blue to blend these together. But the same steps or the same process for making Little Bluebeard and Beachy Gnome convey, and you're just going to blend these colors together to make that beard for him. Is there anything I should answer, Jordan? I've made a righteous mess on my table.
We had a few people interested in what the difference was between Maori and MC1, but we did cover that in a fiber-heavy Woolly Wednesday a few weeks ago, so that would be a great place to look for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. The difference between Maori and MC1, they come from two different continents. Maori is a much coarser fiber. It doesn't seem, if you just read the numbers, that it's that much coarser, but it's coarser. It's a little more wiry than the MC1, but it comes in lots of great colors, and it needle felts densely. That's one of the things we really like about it. Mm-hmm.
And then other than that, how did you attach the yarn strings?
Oh, I did the same thing as the glue gun. So on this little guy, I glued the shells to the base of the yarns. With the glass beads, I used a large embroidery needle and ran them through the glass beads, and then I just glued them underneath the seashell right here. So they're just all attached by that little white seashell. Very, very easy to do. Super fun.
Cute. We have actually 2 questions about the cheesecloth and how to get it crinkly. Some people say it comes really smooth for them.
Oh, well, just to open it up. So one thing, this cheesecloth is once you cut it, it's like a scrim. It's a very loosely woven thing, so it looks all flat, but as soon as you start to unfold it, it's usually folded multiple times, then you'll start to see all this waviness. And with mine, these ones, actually, I do a little tea staining or coffee staining. So cut some, just drop it in your, cup of coffee or tea with no milk in it, and just let it get a little bit of stain to it, and it makes it look just a little more ruddy. But I think once you start unfolding those folds out of the package, that you'll see the cheesecloth will just get all squiggly for you, no problem. And if it doesn't, well, then get it wet. It's just a cotton, I think, and it's so disorganized that it's easy to make it look messy real fast. Something else?
I think that clears
That's
it up.
it.
Yeah.
Fun, fun, fun.
A
Well,
lot
thanks.
of inspiration.
Good, y'all. Well, thank you for needle felting gnomes with us. Jordan's been over there writing down names. Look, if you want another gnome video, we have a free class in the school. It's like the basics of needle felting, where we make this. We call it like our soft serve ice cream hat. And we have another Gingerbeard gnome kit, which is really fun, but it's really easy to needle felt gnomes, and there's lots of different things you can do with them. So have fun with that, and you might check out that free class in our school if you want to watch this process a little more broken down into steps. Am I solo today, picking out names?
Yes,
okay.
yes,
All right.
you
So
are.
Jordan's been writing down names, y'all, so that we can give away prizes. Today, the prizes we're giving away are, let me double check. So I know it's going to be a gnome kit, or if you don't want the gnome kit, I need help. Here we go. The gnome kit, or one of the Maori goodie bags that Anne and Trish showed you in the beginning of the show. So for the folks on the live show, thank you so much for joining me today. Next week we do have another Beachy project. We did our Hidden Lake 2D. We're going to needle felt again next week, but it's going to be 3D and a little fun, I think. So today we're giving away prizes to Tammy Lehman. I get this next one open. And Helen Russell. Congratulations to Helen and Tammy. Thank you all so much for playing with us. If we didn't address your comment or answer your question, leave a comment down below. Let us hear from you, and you will get a chance to win more prizes. So next week, another 3D needle felting, beachy, seashore type of thing. And in 2 weeks, I have a super duper duper special guest. So mark your calendars. If you like Christmas, if you like making things for Christmas, if you think that starting a little bit in summer might be fun, join us in 2 weeks. Put that on your calendar. And if you've been thinking about taking classes in our school, feltingtutorials.com, there are classes on sale now for a few more days. So get over there and check it out. And if you felt with us, please tag us at Living Felt. And until next time, just take extra good care of yourself and know that we appreciate you so very much. All right, y'all, have a great week. Bye.